You have a choice. Sit in your guilt and shame and let the time tick away, or do the work of repairing the breach that you initiated. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another UNAFRAID podcast. Super excited for this one. It is called Repairer of the Breach. Big question, why am I doing this video? After doing a lot of events here recently, talking about the Lord and elements of mindset for the UNAFRAID, there has been a big question that comes up almost without fail, and that is, how do I go back and repair relationships that I have destroyed because of maybe drinking, certain addictions, anger, rage, those things. And I'm sure a lot of you know what I'm talking about. And I discussed this a lot in our book with Keith Wood, Unafraid, Staring Down Terror as a Navy SEAL and a Single Dad, is because when I got custody of my children, I did a lot of destruction. I was done destroying things overseas, and I seemed to take that destruction into my family with my children, not realizing exactly what my words do, what my drinking was doing, what my numbing myself so I didn't have to feel was doing. I was causing wounds in my children, stuff that I honestly did not realize. And I don't use that as a justification, but it's kind of like the hot wash at the end of each chapter in our book, Unafraid, is kind of hindsight, like looking back, like, man, I should have totally handled that a little bit different. And that comes up a lot at these events. And when this was coming up, I actually took it to our Unafraid page, our team page. We do a weekly call. And I kind of put out the idea, like, hey guys, what do you guys got on this? And I got some really good feedback that we're going to interject into here, which was awesome. So to the Patreon members from Unafraid, thank you so much for that. That helps. Just a reminder, don't forget to join our Team Unafraid, our Patreon page. You can see it on all our media platforms. It's on our website in multiple places, on the resource page, on our main page, eddiepenny.com. Check it out. We put out a lot of good stuff. We have weekly calls. We're developing a new community where iron sharpens iron to feed in and to block out the negative stuff of the world and just bring in positive minds and work through the stuff that we all deal with. Highly encourage you to go there. There's different tier levels. There's mentorship programs. It's super cool. We have a lot of good time. And to be honest with you, our Tuesday night meetings is probably one of the greatest nights of my week. It's just so good to be filled by men and then fill others and just work through it. We just work through the stuff that we all have to deal with. We're all the same. Not one of us is above or below the other. We're right next to each other, shoulder to shoulder, walking through this life, trying to be better individuals, spiritually, physically, emotionally, and mentally. And we need community. We need positive community, not negative community. So trying to get that toxic stuff out and work together. Also, got a new Unafraid shirt. We just put this out. Our original OG, we call it, Unafraid shirt, was such a big hit. We've had to do multiple reorders. So we just kind of flipped it. And so we've got the white and with the black banner. Then we got the same logo with a black outline on the back. Check out our store, and there's discounts for all the gear on the Unafraid shop on our Patreon page. So join us and get filled. All right, so what is a breach? I'm big into the word breach. When I was a Navy SEAL, I was a breacher. That's the guy that's responsible for getting you into a house, into a room, into a safe, whatever it may be. And we could use that by going through a door, through a window, or through a wall, but we would call it the breach. Where is the breach point is the way that we get through, say, a wall, for example, is putting an explosive charge on there, blowing it up, and the hole we walk through in that wall, that hole is the breach. So we'd call the breacher the guy that actually does that, but that's what I call. So repairer of the breach, that hole that we made, we are now going back to repair that hole we made in a relationship. So that's kind of what we're using, and we'll get to some biblical context here in a bit, but that's what I'm talking about. Another way that breach can be used is breaking a friendship or relationship, and that's what we're going to be focusing on, is that relationship piece. Things that we screwed up with, taking ownership for what we did do, owning it, apologizing or forgiving or whatever we need to do, and moving on and trying to mend that relationship. But when this started going, this really got its kickoff. My daughter reached out and she sent me a text. To be honest with you, I'm getting pretty emotional just thinking about it. I'm going to read that here in a bit. But that's why I'm doing this, is looking back, is we have that decision to make. Do we just let it be and move on? Or do we like, okay, that wasn't correct, and go back and try to mend And that's why I'm doing this video. Kind of going back to the book again, I was a Navy SEAL operator, what we would call operating at the tip of the spear, going overseas. And I went through a divorce and I got custody of 3 children. I got a 10-year-old daughter, my 5-year-old daughter, and my 10-month-old boy. And going from savage mode overseas, to Iraq and Afghanistan, and then coming back and having to take care of 3 children, I did not know what to do. I was a lost little boy, and I talk about this a lot. That's kind of my setting the stage for these engagements, is we think that it's cool because the world says it's cool, but really it's not cool because I was a little boy inside and was not able to even take care of my family. And to be quite honest with you, when I got custody of kids, it was more of like, okay, let's not let them die, instead of like, hey, I need to teach them how to be leaders. I need to be their spiritual leader. I need to say, hey, this is not okay. This is how we treat others. This is how we should be treated by others. And that will happen by the way we treat others. So I wasn't doing a really good job. It was more like, okay, are you guys good? Are you going to die? Do you have food? All right, sweet. You have a bed? All right, we're good to go. And that was kind of where I left it. Because I was dealing with a bunch of other stuff internally. That's not their fault. That is not their fault. That is my fault, because I thought I had it figured out and I did not have it figured out. So I know a lot of us go through certain things at different stages in our life, but there's a lot of things that we do unintentionally and some intentionally. And we're like, they'll be good. They're resilient. They're kids. They got this. But I don't think we realize how serious that impacts children's lives until they get older. And I'm looking at my life now. I am older now, and I can go back to the way coaches treated me, the way my father treated me, the way my mother treated me, the way my distant family treated me, good and bad, the way I was treated by friends, neighbors, and school teachers, the gym coach. I mean, the way they motivated me or took away that motivation. I'm sure if we all went back, we can name really good mentors, and like, I don't ever want to be like that. And to be quite honest with you, some of those I don't ever want to be like that type of people kind of clings to us and I don't know why. I had that, and I took on a lot of traits of things that I'm like, I will never be like that. I don't ever want to be like that. And to be honest with you, became part of my character, which is not a good thing. There's many reasons for that, but we sometimes become what we don't want to become. There are the things that we detest the most. We sometimes become that. And there comes a time, if we're working through stuff, we're working through mental growth, emotional growth, physical growth, and spiritual growth, that we can go back and be like, man, I'm not happy with the way that is. And we need to go attack that and make it right. And that's what this video is about, is choosing. That's a big word there, choosing. It's our choice. It's our decision to go back to that relationship, be it a kid, a significant other that you could still be with, or whatever it is, a mother, a father, a specific family member, a friend, and go back and work that. Now, are you going to be met with a stiff arm or a brick wall? I don't know, but it's better to definitely try and see if you can mend that relationship, especially if it's weighing on your heart. We'll call it a gut instinct. I would call that the Holy Spirit. Is like, hey, we need to engage in this because this is a relationship that we need to have. And some relationships fall away, and some of those relationships that fell away come back because there needs to be building on both sides, or people need to go to a low to get built up, and we could be used to bring those people up. And those people that we think that we're bringing up could also be used to bring us up as well. So it goes both ways. It's a double-edged sword. It's beautiful, but we are not going to know unless we engage. And that's where I'm asking you to step into that gap, to be the one that initiates that, because a lot of times you'll be so thankful that you did. Now, is everything a Cinderella story? Absolutely not. That would be ridiculous to say. But as Wayne Gretzky says, you miss every shot you do not take. And Wayne Gretzky is an awesome hockey player. Every shot you don't take, you're going to miss it. So take the shot. Take the shot if you're being led to do so. Take that shot and go back and mend the relationship the best you possibly can. At a minimum, we forgive, because that forgiveness piece can really hold us back. So like I said, I got custody of my children, and I was kind of the mom and the dad for quite some time. And there was relationships that went, and a lot of that was my fault, as well as, we're talking about my children here, because that's the relationship that I had to go back and mend. And it wasn't an overnight thing. And this is just now I'm starting to see the fruit or the evidence of trying to build a better relationship. And there's been ups and there's been downs, and there's been everything seems like it's okay, but it's not. Everything seems okay, and it is. But it was a consistent battle that I had to engage in to reach out, even though honestly my feelings might have been hurt. I didn't like the response to a certain thing I said. I didn't like a response on a Father's Day or a Christmas or a Thanksgiving, whatever it may be. You know what I'm talking about. And we got to understand, we don't always know what's going on in the other people's lives. We usually get this inner, like, look at me, I'm looking at myself, because obviously we're with ourselves all the time. So we know what we're thinking about others, and what we would like to have happen, what we should do, what we don't do, what we hope doesn't happen. But other people don't know what we want to happen or what we shouldn't do or all that things. They don't know our thoughts. We do. The other person that we're discussing here is going through the same stuff. So just because you say something or you get a cold response doesn't mean that they're out to destroy you. Remember, they could have something that you don't even know anything about that they could be dealing with, and that is a very big thing. And it seems very simple, but a lot of times we get in that self mode. I feel this, I think this, and we don't take into consideration, like, hey, they could be dealing with certain things. I mean, just recently with my wife and I, we talk about, like, hey, this is what I'm hearing you say. Is this what you're telling me? And be like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm kind of misconstruing or tweaking it to the way I think it's being told, and that's not even the truth at all. So we need to look at what really is going on, and not really get, I guess you could say, butthurt about certain comments, and kind of look at it from a standpoint of both sides and be the bigger person. And that is why the teaching of Jesus is so huge as we start applying that stuff, as we see that love piece. That doesn't mean you get pushed around, so don't think that whatsoever. There is a time to be not passive, for sure. It is influence that comes from not from that person, but some other outside sources, and that's what we attack, not the fleshly self of that person. We talk about this stuff on our Patreon page all the time, so if that interests you, you're like, what is he talking about? I would highly recommend you jump on that. But I want to focus on repairing relationships that you blew up in the past. The way we were, and if we've been seeking that growth, and where we are now should be two different people. And if they're not, then I highly recommend to look at yourself, go look in the mirror and be like, what do I need to fix? What do I need to change? What do I need to improve? And we all need that improvement. We were just going to release this week another chapter, because we do podcasts for all of our, for the Unafraid chapters. We're going to release chapter India, and I was watching it. I was like, who the heck is that guy? And I was looking at myself, and I was like, to be honest with you, I was disgusted by it. I was like, I can't do this. I reached out to Keith Wood, the guy that, Keith, a really good friend and co-author that was really kind of the magic behind the words of the book Unafraid. I'm like, hey buddy, we gotta redo these chapters because I'm not happy with what I'm seeing. And it was just two different people from where I was, and that was just over a year ago, to where I am now with my walk with Christ. I'm like, I was disgusted. Like, I'm throwing around some language that I wasn't big on, just my mannerism, like moving around, is like anxiety was taking over. And there's many reasons for that. When you've got, get you're emotionally oppressed, mentally oppressed, physically oppressed, or spiritually oppressed, it can cause you to have physical manifestations of certain kinds. And like, seeing that in hindsight, I haven't looked at this in over a year, because we recorded that long ago. I'm like, dude, I can't do that again. I'm like, dude, I can't do that anymore. And that was like before I was all in with Christ. And now that I'm walking in obedience with the Lord, and I still have so many things that I work on, dude, I can't do that. But I see what was so cool about that, besides me being disgusted and want to vomit about myself. It wasn't that bad, but it wasn't good either, is seeing how I was, the way I talked, the way I would just interact with Keith on the podcast for these chapters. It was gross. So I'm like, we're redoing it. So that's what I think I'm talking about. And that was like kind of the first time I saw a difference. And people's like, dude, you do change. You don't drink anymore. You don't go do this anymore. You started doing this now. And that is a great thing. And if you're walking in that faith and going to Christ, is you'll see you're starting to pull back from the world, and you're going in a totally different way, the way Christ says is the right way, and he is the way. I was mind blown. And this was, gosh, just over a year. So I can't wait to see what next year is. I might be looking back at this video. I'm like, all right, dude, take that down. I'm not going to do that. But that's what I'm saying, is we should be seeing that growth in so many areas of our life. How I parent, how I am with my wife, how I am in the gym working out, how I am with colleagues that I work with, people above and below me. Certain engagements that we have, we should be seeing improvement. Things should be getting better and not worse. And if it get worse, we need to kind of look at that and be like, okay, why is it like this? Address it. And if it's a toxic situation, that's where we need to pull ourselves out, so we're not getting stuck into that toxic situation. Looking back now, I was a Christian, but definitely a lukewarm Christian. And there's a huge difference for someone that's going all in and trying to improve every area of their life and have the Lord fill that void, that empty space, push out the world, push out the flesh and push out the enemy and fill it with him, capital H, him, and do better. And because a better us, a better individual is better for your family. A better family is better for the neighborhood. A better neighborhood is better for your city. A better city is better for your state. And it just works out and out and out. But it starts right here in our home. It starts here with me. It starts with you. No matter if you're a son, a daughter, a sister, or brother, it starts with you. And if we all took that responsibility, we took that ownership, we would see true change in our life, in our country. And it would just be a better place. But unfortunately, with the outside influences of media, certain people that are not good, certain things that are pushed, fast food joints, twerking. I mean, we can go down the list of just things that are honestly ridiculous, but we're thinking that's so cool. Like, we know more about twerking and what the deals are at McDonald's than we know about the Word of God, which is actually the way you heal. That's what I'm getting at is pushing back that world and then not conforming and picking up your cross daily and walking, which is a beautiful thing. And some of you heard that like, dude, that's too much work. And yeah, of course, because the enemy's getting you that. You got to understand your thoughts are not all your thoughts. I got a text message from my oldest daughter. She's now 23. She has a son. She's married. She lives up north. I'm a grandfather, which is awesome. But she sent me this, and I don't know how emotional I'm going to get. I'm already getting emotional just talking about it. But I received this letter. And it, man, I tell you what, it just hit me like, this is the fruit. This is the evidence of when you try to pull away from yourself and think about other people. But to be honest with you is very hard for me because I was a very self-absorbed man and sometimes still can be. And trying to put others above me is not an easy task for me. Some people can do it flawlessly. And man, I want that. I really do. But for me, it's a challenge. It is a challenge. But when she sent me this, it blew my mind. I'm like, and it just, I could just, as I'm reading, the Lord's like, this is what happens when you follow me. This is what I will do. I will go and repair that breach. I will restore your relationship. I will make it worth it. It is worth it. Is it always easy? No, it's not, but it's always worth it. So before I start crying everywhere on this piece of paper, let me read this to you. This is from my daughter, Kayla. This is a hard one, guys. I just wanted to say that I'm so very proud of the person you've become. I have prayed and cried over and over for so long for you to be in the place you are today. It just makes me so happy to see you living a Christian life. I remember the first summer I came to visit you guys from me being away and you offered me a sip of your drink, alcoholic drink, and I said, no, thank you, and you told me you were very proud of me. And I just hoped you would turn out the same way, and you finally have. I remember that. And I remember being so proud of her. I'm like, man, I don't want to do what I'm doing. I remember looking at my drink. I'm like, I don't want this. She just told me, no, that's my daughter. Years younger, and she was an example. And that stuck with me. She planted that seed, and it lasted because I don't drink anymore. And you finally have. I can't believe you are doing all this ministry work and speaking. It's crazy. I never thought you'd be doing this. I am just beyond happy and excited for what's to come. I can finally say, I'll see you in heaven, and you have no idea how that makes me feel. All right, I got to time out here, guys, because to be honest with you, the tears are... For a second there, I thought I was underwater. Sorry. I'm literally crying right now. So am I. I just never thought anyone in my family would turn out how I am with my beliefs. Because when you're walking in the Christian faith, there's not a lot of people doing it. There's not a lot of people doing it. You're different. That's right. We are different. Because look at the world. I don't want that. I don't want that. With what the Bible actually says. But yes, I just wanted to say I'm so happy for you and I love you very dearly. And so happy for the family you've created down there in Texas. I absolutely love the new addition to our penny tree. Amanda is absolutely wonderful and such a great mother to her 2 bonus kids and great bonus mom to Tristan. And she seems to be a great wife to you as well. I'm glad to see you with someone who makes you so happy. But I love you, and that's all I wanted to say. Miss you tons. Guys, I've read that I don't know how long or how many times, and I have the same response. And I knew this would happen, and that's okay. It's okay to show the emotions. It's okay to feel. something I shut out for decades. But Kayla, thank you. Thank you for saying that. So there you go, guys. Brief video. I just wanted to show you, and I didn't know this was taking place. I was putting my trust in the Lord, and this is the result. My daughter texted me that. It might have seemed, still choked up about it. It may seem so meaningless, like nothing's happening. It may seem like you're doing this, you're giving. Let's not forget that we're going back to repair something that we started, something that we blew up. That's our responsibility to take ownership and then go be the doer, not the talker, and to go do, not to be like, you should do this, you should do that. Don't expect anything. I never expected anything. Did sometimes maybe I do, but I never let the other people know. Did sometimes I was kind of hurt or sad or feel sorry for myself or maybe even have a temper tantrum alone in my car? Yes, absolutely. But you still walk in faith and you still put that faith into him. All right, Lord, show me. I'm praying to you. I'm crying out to you. Please restore this. I want this relationship. And some of these relationships that we're talking about may be friends. It may not be someone close like a daughter or a son or a spouse, a significant other or a mother or a father. But it's still, if it's worth enough to go repair, it's worth enough to fight for. It's worth enough to not expect anything in return, but to put it all out there and put yourself out there to be slayed by the dragon if that's what happens. But at least you'll know because you attempted. You tried. And that's a huge problem that we see is people are afraid to try because they're afraid of failure. The fear of not knowing is way worse than the fear of failure. And if you do fail, learn from your lesson. Try again, try again. Because really the only true failure is when you completely stop. Are we going to hit obstacles? Yes. Are we going to hit roadblocks? Yes. Are we going to divert a little bit? Yes. But if we continue to go to where that goal is, to what our desired outcome is, we will succeed. So to end this, I want to leave this on a biblical verse. So here's what we got. Those from among you shall build the old waste places. You shall raise up the foundations of many generations, and you shall be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of streets to dwell in. Guys, I hope that gave you a little bit of motivation or encouragement to go attack something that you need to restore, something you need to repair, something that you blew up that we need to now go fix. We need to go mend, reunite with whatever that relationship may be. I don't know what that is, but if there's something in your lifestyle, I believe you know what that is, and I'm rooting for you. Seek him, and he will not let you down. Is it instant? Sometimes it is. Do sometimes we need to dig in? Yes. Do sometimes we find out more stuff about us that is not tied into what our ultimate goal is? Yes, but ultimately it is tied into everything. Because again, it's a better us, a better family, better neighborhood, better city, and it just goes out from there. But it starts with you and it starts with me. 100% starts with me. Full ownership. I take responsibility for my mistakes. Now I do have to go repair and not make those same mistakes moving forward. Hope we got something out of this. I love you guys. Be safe, be smart, and rock on.